Did you see CPC sent us a friendship balloon? I did see that. Yeah, we'll probably talk about that today. I did see the Chinese spy balloon, and as we covered China's devious plot to uh, attack Canada's institutions through this kind of secret agent infiltration in the school boards and politics and the media. We've seen it here, so it's not surprising that it's happening to down there as well. And as usual with these things, I don't believe that the spy balloon is a real thing, but if it is real, I think it's cool. And I think they should be allowed to send spy balloons. Why not? Why can't they? Does anyone have an answer to that question? Why? Why can't China send a single spy balloon to just check out what's going on? You don't think we got spy shit over there? You don't think we got spy shit over there? They can send a balloon. Who cares? What are you gonna be? You're a big tough guy. Oh, a big tough country, America. Oh, don't send a balloon. Oh no. Oh no. You have any guns are in your country? Oh no, balloon. Hey Nick, how's it going? You think we're not killers? The worst part is that it's very likely a weather balloon, but every American's gonna be like, it's a spy balloon. Yeah, it is too cold today. I agree, Nick. I agree. It's not cool. The balloon is bad, but our spy satellites, that's based. That's cool as hell. Yeah. Spy balloon. They're really stepping it up with this China stuff. The China fear mongering. Would love for one of these chicken hawks to explain why China shouldn't have the right to shoot down every spy plane we obviously have flying in their airspace. Yeah, or like this, submarines, nuclear submarines patrolling the South China Sea. Don't send us a balloon, though. Don't send a balloon. Hello, Daisy. What's up? It is good that China stole F-35 design documents, meaning all that wasted money is good for something. Well, I mean, if anything, they should take those documents away from the American manufacturers. It's a sunk cost fallacy. Maybe they'll move on to some plane that actually works. Now that if they lose the documents, maybe they can build a plane that actually flies. When it's cloudy outside. What about that? Is that real, Ben Imps? Did Blinken cancel his trip to Beijing? Is that true? He did? Oh my God. Just $100 billion more. I swear it'll work. We're always complaining about balloons. It was a big thing in Gaza as well. The Palestinians are sending us very threatening, incendiary balloons. What the fuck is up with all these countries with a big, vast, powerful military establishments shitting their pants about balloons? These Palestinian school children are threatening us with these balloons. We're gonna bomb Gaza again. There's a little boy trapped in that balloon, and frankly, I find it disgusting. I'm making light of it. I just find it hysterical then when the U.S. thinks our security state isn't incredibly open about what their plans are, or that there's anything on the ground to see from a fucking balloon beyond our crumbling infrastructure. Maybe they're just looking at all the shitty roads and bridges and just laughing at it. Rob, you jest, but have you ever had a balloon pop when you weren't expecting it? It's startling. Belt and Road recon operation. That's it. Maybe they're trying to like start some kind of a plan to eventually upgrade America's infrastructure, and you're there complaining. They're just like, once we take over fully, here's where the high-speed rail system is going to go. And you're mad about it. If there's any more evidence that the U.S. is horrified that someone would come attack their land, it's that one balloon scares the absolute shit out of them. Your size of the country makes it unmanageable to get wrecked if it got attacked. We better check into this big story, folks. We better look into this. This is dangerous. I hope everyone's staying safe. One more time, I'll see if it works.
It does seem as though...
Cool. Good. Oh, it's in Canadian airspace too. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck.
Canadian defense sources tell Global News that
Look at how terrifying this
Chinese
is.
spy balloon spotted flying over the United States also spent time in Canadian airspace. In a statement, the Department of National Defense says the balloon is being actively monitored by NORAD. Sources say the Canadian military is looking into whether this balloon entered
We're monitoring the balloon. We're looking into the balloon.
Once. In the United States, the Pentagon has advised against shooting down the balloon due to concerns about debris posing a risk to people on the ground. So the balloon has been spotted over Montana, home to one of 3 U.S. nuclear missile silo fields. And we have reaction from Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly, who is commenting. She says, quote, yesterday, China's ambassador to Canada was summoned by officials.
It would be funny, though. I think it would be funny and very fitting. We're hauling in the ambassador for meetings about this fucking balloon now. It would be funny if this was the flashpoint of World War III, you know? Wouldn't that be fitting with all the stuff that's been going on over the last 3 years? If this was the thing, this was the match that started the fire. The dreaded Chinese spy balloon. The balloon is being tracked by NORAD. A second balloon has entered Canadian airspace. Oh my. Fellow patrons, intel that my article has been screwed over worse than Bret Hart ever was. It's because the guy I was going to interview forgot to join my Zoom link. Then he said he couldn't literally an hour after. I'm sorry to hear that, Coal Mine. Who are you interviewing? That's not cool. All you have to do is hover balloon over a CA, and the U.S. media will just tell you how many nuclear missile silos are nearby. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a good strategy. If you want to know where they are, if you want to know where all those special bunkers are, maybe that's what they're doing. Oh, state. It's weird because he wrote Say
You can count
yay
on
there.
me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Goth Angle Sinner, for the 25 months of Prime. And thank you for the warmth. Remember, folks, it's one sub for sending me one warmth today. It's minus 26 degrees. And I will die of hypothermia if people don't subscribe to this program today. So just, it's fine if you're okay with that. You know, if that's how you feel, I get it. Okay. But I think that's a little messed up, frankly. It would be very funny, though, if this balloon was the spark that started World War III. We're hauling in the ambassador about this.
Quote,
what is this
China's
picture of Melanie
ambassador to
Jolie,
Canada
too?
Was summoned by officials at Global Affairs
This does
Canada.
not look like a headshot of like a government official. You know? I was supposed to be interviewing a guy who's in charge of the renovation of one of the buildings on my campus. I'm sorry, Coleman. That's not cool. I've been there.
Regarding the situation described in the statement issued by the Department of National Defense. We'll continue to vigorously express our position to Chinese officials through multiple channels.
We're vigorously what?
China has admitted.
Canadian defense sources our position to Chinese officials through multiple.
We will continue to vigorously express our position to Chinese officials through multiple channels. They're very unhappy about this balloon. They're going to be vigorously explaining their objections to this balloon situation. They're not fooling around here. Chinese infiltration into Canadian government, and now this balloon. And that's right. That's why they have to vigorously be against it. Because otherwise, imagine if they just tried to hand wave this away. Given that bombshell story about China's infiltration into the Canadian government, if they tried to be like, we were not really that concerned about this balloon, they'd be like, oh, fuck, is she one of them? How much is President Xi paying you, Melanie Jolie? They have to make sure that they're registering their dissatisfaction with this situation. I'm going to build a net wall in the sky to prevent further evil balloon infiltration. Thank you. I hope people are writing these suggestions down because there's some gold here.
China has admitted.
We got a whole do an interview. Sky News is on it. Sky News, Global News, every
China
American network.
has admitted that a suspected spy balloon
This is
which has entered
international
US
news.
airspace is theirs, but says it is a civilian airship which is conducting meteorological and other scientific research.
A likely story,
American officials say
China.
they're tracking the balloon, which has been over the US for a couple of days now. Fighter jets have been put on standby, but the White House has decided not to shoot it down for now.
Sky
Let's get
News,
more on
obvious
this from our
conflict of
defense and
interest.
security analyst, Professor Michael Clark, who's in the studio with me. Michael, good to see you again. Good afternoon. Where exactly is this balloon? And I say balloon, but it's rather large, isn't it?
Oh, it's much larger.
Everything is measured. International comparative measurements are either London buses, Wembley, or Wales. And this is 3 London buses.
That's huge.
So it's big. And it carries several kilos of surveillance equipment, we assume. And it has travelled over the Aleutian Islands, and it's hovering over Montana. And the reason that Montana is important, a lot of these northern states are important, because that's where the American missile bases are. They're intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're Minuteman III.
We know that now.
Are in the north of the country, because the shortest distance between America and Russia is over the North Pole. That's why they're in the north. And although nobody lives there, or very few people live in this part of the United States, very underpopulated, this is a very sensitive area. And the red areas that we've marked on the map there, those are the areas where the satellite bases to launch the missiles are sited. And so
this is terrifying
every
stuff,
base,
folks.
so the Malmstrom base or the Billings base has 50 missiles, and those missiles are in groups of 10. So there are 5 launch control points. Is
anyone writing this down?
The red area shows you the distribution of the launch control points. They're quite well spread out for obvious reasons.
Maybe they're observing all the neo-Nazi enclaves in Idaho.
Has been hovering over them for some time, and it's really upset the Americans. I mean, the balloon is we guess
these silos are so secret that this fucking random guy is talking about it on Sky News. Why do they need to send a balloon? Is it that much of a secret? It seems like it's just, if you're talking about it on the news, it seems like it's just common knowledge. Yeah, you don't need to send a balloon. Just watch this segment. What's the balloon going to do? Make fart noises at the soldiers? Yeah, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to look at all the coverage of this now.
50,000 feet.
This is an explosive
Aircraft
story.
Get to about 40,000 feet. They could fire rockets.
You can count on me. You're going to have a good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Lost my airship somewhere in the U.S. Anyone seen it? Hypershi.
Thank you, Lack of XP, for the 20 months of Tier 1. So agonizingly close to the highly elite, highly exclusive 24-month TRRS sub badge. This is honestly humiliating. Now he's explaining how balloons work.
It's really upset the Americans. I mean, the balloon is we guess, something above 60,000 feet. Aircraft get to about 40,000 feet. They could fire rockets at it. But the point about the balloons is that they go above the level that aircraft can fly at effectively.
So
and
even though they've said the fighter jets are on.
Exactly. Yeah.
My son was in that balloon.
Space between the ceiling for aircraft and satellites. And so they're into the stratosphere. And these balloons can just hang around for a long time, surveilling and listening and collecting information.
Have they shot a nuke? What if they nuked
What
the
is
balloon?
this about, Michael? Why have the
What about a
Chinese
cruise
put up
Tomahawk
a balloon
missile?
over the US?
Yeah.
Whatever it is doing, scientific research, or what is it about?
They wanted it to be seen. It's clear. We've tracked it.
Look, it's making a sickle.
This is based on the sky weather using the NOAA model.
It's making a sickle. They should just do another balloon that does a hammer shape there. That if they want to really scare the Americans, that's what they could do next. If they sent another balloon to make a hammer shape crisscrossing with that, oh boy, that would cut. You want to think this news story is outrageous. They wanted it to be seen. They're taunting us. It's like that. It's one of those like 90s or 80s or 90s like serial killer things. They're taunting us. It's half a dick shape, actually. Is this the dumbest China bad story so far? It's pretty bad. This is pretty bad, yeah. I would say the dumbest was the Canada Land thing that we listened to the other day, because that was just god awful. But I think the sort of like breathless news coverage of this balloon, though, I think that's elevating it a lot, turning this total non-story into international news. So it's a spy balloon that they wanted to be seen. That's right. Yeah, it's like a Mr. Policeman situation. Would you advise our American allies to surrender to the balloon? Absolutely. And maybe it is the first step in America's liberation, you know? Maybe this is serious. But I think that's something. And look, you can see it was over Canada. Oh boy, it crossed Canada's territory to get to their devious position. It's an assassin balloon coming slowly for our precious Michaels. It would be genuinely hilarious, like, if one of the Michaels was just like at home minding his own business and the balloon came over and like some kind of hook descended and pulled him back away. Honey! He gets carried away. They came back for one of the Michaels. You would have to hand it to them if that was the case. You would have to hand it to them. The U.S. wants to be ready for war with China in 2 years, but they can't even handle one balloon. Yeah. uprooting the entire house like an up. He goes to get his morning paper. What the hell? They wanted the spy balloon just exactly following atmospheric movements to be seen. Oh. China the Michael Spavor. You think just because you're back in Canada, don't think you're safe. Neither of the Michaels should ever relax for a moment. Nor should we. Nor should we as a society or a culture. We got to be on our heels at all times. They could come, just because the Michaels are back now doesn't mean that they can't come back for them at any moment. We've already lost our two Michaels once. What would it be like to lose them again? That's the question.
Which is the Oceanic and Aeronautical Agency. And this is at 40,000 feet, which is a bit low. But if you look at the winds at 40,000 feet, that's where the balloon would have come from China, across the Aleutian Islands, across Alaska, and into the United States.
Just sat down for breakfast and there's a Michael-shaped cloud and the spoon just bowl is just rattling. What if it was entirely different Michaels? Yeah, they're dipping into our strategic Michaels reserve. It's really scary stuff. It's really not cool.
Another model onto it at about 60,000 feet, which is more of the operational height it will be at. But that gives it a slightly different track, but it still ends up over Montana. So that's where we think the balloon has come from. So why are the Chinese doing this? They want it to be seen. They want it to be noticed. And my view is that this is all about the Philippines. This is about the 9-dash line. There's a famous 9-dash line. The Chinese drew this line, they put 9 dashes on it, and they said all of that line belongs to us.
When really, as we all know, it should belong to the United States and the United Kingdom. Can you believe that China, in this dotted line here, that they kind of claim that that's their territory? Can you fucking believe that? The arrogance. The absolute arrogance of China that they would claim this area in the South China Sea as their territory. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks. I've had it up to here with this damn place. They've gone too far here. Imagine a country drawing an arbitrary line to claim their territory. It's unbelievable. It just disgusts me.
Everything inside that area is Chinese territory. And they're building illegal bases in the Spratly Islands and the Paracel Islands, military bases that they've got no right to. They've been found...
Illegal military bases in the South China Sea. Sir, do you think maybe that we should take a look at where, even on this map that you're looking at right now, where their U.S. military bases? Should we maybe take a look at that? In, say, the Philippines? That we're pumping weapons into Taiwan? Where are all let's take a look at the map and look at where all the American military bases are just in this one image. They're illegal bases. They're not allowed to build military bases in the South China Sea. This guy has no imagination. Maybe China is planning to occupy Montana and seize control of our strategically important cattle ranches. America would just, if they threatened the burger supply, America would just immediately surrender. They would immediately surrender. We got Japan and South Korea as well. Massive American military bases there in Okinawa and in all over South Korea. But no, they're building illegal military bases.
The international court has found against them. They've just ignored it. And, of course, the Philippines is most affected by that because it's their territorial waters plus Malaysia and Vietnam as well. Now, the Americans this week have said we're going back to the Philippines. They're opening 4 new American military bases. So
This shit is unbelievable. They're building 4 new military bases. Are those are legal though, right? Those are okay, I guess. 4 new bases. They're legal though. These people are unbelievable. How do you fucking do this without laughing? Like, it's just absurd. He's complaining about China's illegal military bases in the South China Sea, and then in the same sentence talks about America's 4 new bases in the Philippines, in the former colony, yeah, where America has not also been politically intervening and militarily intervening to the result of, hundreds of thousands of deaths. Jesus, it's truly amazing.
For the first time in years, the American military is going back to the Philippines, and Lloyd Austin is on a tour of East Asia. It's all been announced. It was in the wind before, but it's now confirmed. The Chinese never let anything like this go by without making their own gesture, without some sort of retaliation. And I'm fairly sure that
it's crazy. Again, it's just absolutely crazy that they might have an objection to being completely encircled by American military bases. It's so aggressive. It's so aggressive that they don't want to be encircled by American military bases. And then they have to do these gestures. They do these aggressive gestures just because we're encircling them with military bases and aiming missiles at them at all times. God. People really watch this. It's like once you start seeing the media through this lens, it's almost comical. The U.S. by contrast would be very cool if China built 4 military bases in the Bahamas. Yeah, well, this thing, even when they build military bases in the South China Sea, that's extremely unacceptable to them. I think they should build they should go into Haiti. China should be going into Haiti and helping develop infrastructure there and maybe build a military base there. Why not? I'm sure if Haitians just voted democratically to make that decision, it's their island, right? They're the ones that live there. Couldn't they just decide to allow China to come in and maybe make a few deals, developing infrastructure, building some schools and hospitals and ports, and just allowing them to have a base there as a trade-off? They're a free country. They're their own country. They're not a colony. So maybe they should do that. Or the Bahamas. So taking this guy seriously for a second, if China's response to 4 new military bases is a harmless weather balloon over Montana, that doesn't seem like a very big deal. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. I hear there's some great land in Cuba where anyone can just build bases without permission. For sure, they should build some bases there. They should set up shop in Havana. It seems silly, but you allow 1 balloon. And then what do you get? Zeppelins? Dirigibles? This is really scary stuff.
the 4 new bases, military bases in the Philippines that are driving China to say, okay, if you want a competition, we'll have a competition. How do you like that?
Oh, fuck, sorry.
China has admitted
That they're taking new bases, military bases in the Philippines that are driving China to say, okay, if you want a competition, we'll have a competition. How do you like this? And
how do you like this? Again, single balloon. They're responding to these 4 new military bases saying, you want to have a competition? Yeah? In it? And then they send a single balloon to Montana. This is really wild. This is really wild stuff. China urges calm. We got Fox is live covering this.
For now, we're continuing to monitor and review options. Thank you. We'll go back to Ellie and then
we got the Pentagon press conference.
How big is the balloon that you're tracking? And have you guys picked up, is it leaving anything in its wake, like sensors?
So on your latter,
I actually underestimated how serious this was in the
We
media.
do continue to monitor the balloon. We do know that it is a surveillance balloon.
I've been kind of joking around about it. I remember reading about this last night. I didn't realize that it was like they were actually making it into this big of a deal.
In reviewing our approach, we
got a live feed.
Any potential debris field would be significant and potentially cause civilian injuries or deaths.
This does rule.
Yeah. So again,
the news coverage would make you think World War III has started. Yeah, and
but again,
that's what I was saying. It would be the ultimate.
Continue to review our options.
It would be just a perfect. It would be a perfect storyline for our modern era if that's how World War III did start.
During a conversation with the Chinese,
if this was the spark that led to World War III, this fucking balloon. This does feel like an Austin Powers skit.
It's a civilian balloon or weather monitoring thing. And
we'll need a supercut of every utterance of balloon for sure.
Of what is inside the balloon, what it's trying to do. And secondly, on an India question, this week, India and US launched a initiative on critical emerging technologies. This has quite a bit of defense component in it. Can you give us some more details about it and how it's going to strengthen, build up your relationship with India?
Sure. On your second question, I'll have to take that because I just don't have that information.
Man, this is great.
On the first question, I appreciate it. As I mentioned, we have contacted
this is very
TRRS.
funny.
I'm not going to get into their reaction. I'd refer you to them for that. But
we go live now to the Pentagon. This is like the opening of like a Michael Bay film.
Violating U.S. airspace and international law, and that this is unacceptable. Thank you. Go over here and then go over here.
Thank you, sir. Is the Pentagon looking at any possibility of maybe altering the course of the balloon to take it to a location where they could shoot it down in a rural area?
Again, monitoring, we're reviewing options, but I'm not going to go into any further specifics. Thank you. Sir?
Considering that this is a surveillance balloon, as you said,
count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
very
this.
sensitive data, given that it flies over nuclear sites in the state of Montana.
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to get into intelligence. As we mentioned in our statement last night, once the balloon was detected, we acted immediately.
This is our friends Ferdinand. It's what we deserve.
Of sensitive information, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Phil.
Is there any nuclear or radioactive material aboard the balloon, or is there anything that's aboard the balloon that makes
is
you
there
believe
radioactive
it could pose a risk
material?
if it was shot down?
Short answer is no. But again, right now we do not assess that the balloon in its current configuration at approximately 60,000 feet poses a physical or military threat to people on the balloon. Thank you. Joe.
Thank you to Nor. Thank you, Nor, for the 6 months of Tier 1. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
The latest Ukraine aid package has the potential to target Crimea. Is that the intent behind providing it now?
So thanks for the question, Joe. So yes.
We believe that there are batteries in the balloon which are toxic when ingested.
We will be providing ground-launched small-diameter bombs to Ukraine. This gives them a longer-range capability, long-range fire.
This is from the Transformers soundtrack, actually,
enable
Sincho.
them, again, to conduct operations in defense of their country and to take back their sovereign territory in Russian-occupied areas. When it comes to Ukrainian plans on operations, clearly that is their decision.
You're not getting Crimea back, Ukraine.
So I'm not going to talk about or speculate about.
And that was the majority there of that news conference there, focusing on the Chinese spy balloon from the Pentagon. We always got you covered right here on Live Now from Fox. You can take a live look at President Biden, Air Force One, heading to
Let's go to Air Force One. You got to get Biden in the air now. He shouldn't even be in the bunker in the White House. It's not secure. With the balloon floating around like this, way too dangerous. You got to get balloon into that Air Force One immediately.
On the Chinese spy balloon, but after this 2-minute break, when we come back, we were we'll take you out to Goshen, California, where we are going to be getting an update on a major arrest to a shooting that killed 6 last month. We'll bring it to you on the other side of the break.
Look at all the stories of this balloon. Every single media org has picked this up. Oh my gosh.
Officials in the U.S. are tracking a suspected spy balloon spotted over American airspace in the past couple of days. A senior defense official says the U.S. has very high confidence it is a Chinese high-altitude balloon flying over sensitive sites to collect information. The Pentagon has advised against shooting the balloon down due to concerns about debris posing a risk to people on the ground. The balloon has been spotted over Montana, home to one of 3 U.S. nuclear missile silo fields.
I was looking out the window.
I think you somehow underestimated how much the media wants war with China. Apparently so, and I've not been shy about talking about this either.
That was kind of crazy because it was broad daylight.
The viral, totally visible spy balloon.
It was just too big to be a star.
It was said by the China Threat Network.
It seemed so brazen and just so insane to me that anyone would even attempt to just push a balloon over the sky, because to me it was
it's insane
like,
to me
this
too,
thing
sir.
is so visible in the sky.
You'd think a spy balloon wouldn't be like that. I agree.
我注意到有关报道正在了解核实情况。我想强调的是，在事实搞清楚之前，猜测和炒作无异于问题的妥善解决。中国是负责任的国家，一贯严格遵守国际法，无意侵犯任何主权国家的领土和领空。关于这个气球的问题，刚刚我已经讲了，我们正在了解核实情况。
Yeah, more like Lina.
冷静谨慎处理。
Because they're lying.
You know, Secretary Blinken is
How about that?
Slated to go to the People's Republic of China in the coming
Got to cancel
days.
that now.
And this floating of a surveillance balloon.
This changes
over the
everything.
United States is untimely. It's either a provocation on the part of the Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
It's a mistake. One part of the government doesn't know what the other part of the government is doing. Or just a standard operating procedure.
Too diplomatic. I would love to see a press conference about this stuff where they were just like, "Are you fucking kidding us with this shit?" That would be. I would like to see them take that tone eventually. I hope Jesse Brown is on top of this story, this explosive story. It's either we believe it may be either intentional or unintentional. That's the John Madden school of security analysis. Oh boy, what an explosive story, folks.
A Chinese spy balloon is hovering over the United States. It was spotted high above Montana, where the U.S. military has a nuclear missile silo. The Pentagon is tracking the spy balloon closely and says it does not pose a military or physical threat. We're told the balloon is the size of 3 buses. A senior defense official says President Biden has been advised to not shoot it down because the falling debris could hurt people on the ground. The balloon's discovery is rattling Capitol.
Imagine the briefing when President Xi found out the whole of the U.S. did melt down over a balloon. It would be a fly on the wall. If I would just send another one just to mess with them. And no one's asking why there are nuclear missile silos all over Montana. Of course, we don't need to know why. It's to launch at China, obviously. The Chinese have satellites. Why would they care about a balloon? It's a great question, Stu. Great question.
Hill, we're now learning that staff members for the Gang of Eight have received a briefing. Joining us now on all of this is our chief national security correspondent, Jim Sciutto. Jim, good morning. Wow.
Wow.
Listen, a slow-moving Chinese surveillance balloon floating over the continental U.S. is understandably disturbing. My understanding is that as of last night, it hadn't left U.S. airspace. So here's what we know so far. First of all, this is an image captured from the ground. It was visible with the naked eye, flying at about 65,000 feet,
quite a spy
twice
balloon.
as high as commercial aircraft, but much lower than surveillance satellites. As you were saying going in, the size of 3 buses. 2 flights were diverted for safety. Military leaders considered, but ultimately decided against with the president's decision.
Not taking any kinetic
to shoot
action.
down, but the idea.
This screenshot is incredible. Military leaders recommend not taking kinetic action on the balloon. Your weatherman is now officially a China bad guy. This is fucking incredible. We're taking some tactical anti-balloon kinetic action. We've tactically ascertained that it's not a right time to take this kind of kinetic action against the balloon, but if the situation changes functionality, and we do need to respond with more kinetic force, we will terminate the balloon with extreme prejudice. We will compromise the balloon to a permanent end. This screenshot is absolutely incredible. Holy Lord. I'm just going to do a screenshot where I act like I'm freaking out about the balloon. And it's, talk about one of our sources here in the chat. Possibly, we don't know if they've got access to any kind of intel, raw intel that we don't have access to. We did just get sent, though, by, who was it? Agenbat. This exclusive image of the balloon. I don't believe this is playing on any of the networks right now. I have this kind of I'm able to get this kind of intel. So I do have an exclusive image of the balloon, which we can look at right now. Very disturbing. Very disturbing. Could they have gotten on our Wi-Fi without permission? This is very disturbing stuff. Ground all the flights. Jordan, you mentioned this to me last night when we were talking. It's truly, I'm looking at all the news footage of this. It's fucking amazing. They're doing Pentagon briefings about this balloon. Americans are so tough. They're so tough that they go into a total panic mode when a balloon appears over their airspace. The military leaders recommend not taking any kinetic action against the balloon.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Dan Simpson, thank you for the raid. Thank you, Dan. Welcome, Dan Chatters. Listen, folks, I don't know if Dan was covering this explosive story right now. I hope you're sitting down. I hope you're sitting down for this. There may or may not be a dangerous Chinese spy balloon over U.S. airspace right now. I know it's scary. I recommend that you go, make sure you stay indoors, turn off all the lights, go down in the basement and find the breakers to the power for wherever you live. Shut all that off. Shut all that off. Okay? Because that's how they're going to block them. They're not going to be able to see you. It may even be an incendiary balloon. We don't know. We don't know. Go turn all the lights off, duct tape the windows. The balloon threat level is red right now. Light up all the gas stoves. Just go in the basement. If you have a bomb shelter, go into your basement, shut off all the power to your home, bring some supplies down there, and go under a table. And just stay under the table. I mean, don't even watch. I would stay in there for at least a couple of days. Because if you turn on the news and they tell you that it's safe, you don't even know if they've been compromised. You don't know if they're just part of the Chinese propaganda now. Back some orange slices and sit very still down there. President Xi, we're ready to act as soon as you give the order for your PLA super soldiers to deploy from the communist weather balloons. Really scary situation. You know, in these scary moments, it's nice to be together with all of you folks. It could be our final moments together. We don't know. We don't know. But it's good, you know, in these dangerous, historic times, to be with a community of friends. And whatever's going to happen is just going to happen. At least we're together, though. I've been doing squats and eating oats in preparation for this day. Oh shit, if you have the vaccine, it's very important you go into the basement because the balloon can track your 5G signals. That's a good point. Good point. Thousands of balloons could be on the way right now. We wouldn't know. Let's take a look at more of this extensive news coverage about this.
Idea that was under consideration shows just how seriously U.S. officials and the president were taking the idea of a Chinese spy balloon floating over the U.S. You mentioned what it was flying over.
Right.
Montana, Malmstrom Air Base, that has ICBMs there. So. Okay, so again, let me just see if I get this right. They're worried about this Chinese spy balloon flying over Montana, where, as indicated on this map of Montana, there is the Malmstrom Air Force Base, which houses nuclear weapons, which you're showing on CNN on a map of Montana. What exactly is the problem here? What exactly is the problem? What is the issue here? I don't quite understand, because this guy, he's paralyzed with fear over this, and here you are showing the map on CNN along with the military base, which you've indicated where it has nuclear weapons. On CNN. He just posted the base's assassination coordinates. My goodness, folks, this is just outrageous. They do good surveillance, not lame balloon nonsense. No. They're recreating the balloon POV. They need to ban him from Twitter for doxing the airbase. Yeah. I know Montana is cold, but they have ICBMs. Ghost, come on now. Come on. I've been working on this story for 6 months and they just show it on national television. This is just astounding. Something that China would naturally be interested in taking a closer look at.
It's happened before, Jim?
It has happened before over U.S. territory before. But here's something I do want to note in terms of surveillance capabilities. This was not a big jump in what China is able to see. Why is that? Because China is
the
flying
pictures on the
satellites
images on
over the
CNN right now.
US
Yeah,
every 90 minutes.
they've got
It's
satellites. They have satellites. Why would they care about a balloon? Well, we don't know. Well, they have the flag on the satellite. Yeah. That's right.
Orbit the Earth, and those satellites have at least equal surveillance capabilities. They're highly advanced.
At least
so in
equal?
terms of
I would
what
say maybe
China
even
could
better.
gather from this balloon, not an enormous step forward. And by the way, we should note this, and this is something to be concerned about, is that China is one of the most active in terms of launching new satellites. Just look at the growth, going back to just single digits of the 2000s. Now they're up close to 100 per year. The only other country competing with that, frankly, is the U.S. And as you add it all up, in terms of satellites, China is second to the U.S. in terms of what they have floating above there right now. Again, all looking down at the U.S., gathering intelligence all the time. I spoke to a number of U.S. officials last night. So this is not a big gain in terms of surveillance,
right,
but it is in terms of audacity to fly a slow-moving surveillance balloon over the continental U.S. and know that the U.S., the president, you and I could see it as it's happening.
Yeah, and just before the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, goes to meet with high-ranking Chinese officials. Certainly going to change the discussion there. Jim?
Absolutely. And by the way, as you know, Poppy, those decisions are not made by accident. You could
Right.
consider that perhaps a message to the U.S. Secretary of State as he prepares to go to Beijing.
All right, Jim, thank you very much.
Joining us now for more perspective on this is
We
the
need
former
more.
defense secretary under former President Trump, Mark Esper. Thank you so much for being here
We
with us.
we need the security analyst on CNN, and we need Trump's military advisor as well. We need to hear from all angles of this.
Morning, Mark. I guess the number one question I have
Wait. I don't want to alarm anyone. I think she may have just called him Mork. Did I hear that correctly?
Thank you so much for being here with us this morning, Mark. I guess
Ooh. Ouch. We don't know. China might be causing her to make these kind of verbal flubs. They could be getting her with the Havana Ray right now. They could be getting her with the laser headache gun right now. We don't even know. Nanu.
the number one question I have is, when the White House makes the decision not to shoot it down, do you agree with that decision? What kind of
No.
options do they have here?
This is more liberal pussy shit.
Well, first of all, I'm surprised by this. I think
They
it's
should launch a
brazen
cruise
act
missile at the
by
balloon.
the Chinese to do this. We were just talking about whether or not it has more or less intelligence value.
I bet it's not even Chinese, but China's like, oh yeah, that's ours, because they see people freaking the fuck out over it. Yeah. We sent the balloon for nefarious reasons. Sure.
Even what they currently have, I don't think we know. And so my interest would be not necessarily shooting it down, but bringing it down so that we can capture the equipment and understand exactly what they're doing. Are they taking pictures? Are they intercepting signals? What are they doing? And what is the level of technical capability? It will tell us a lot about what they're trying to do, what they're trying to learn, and what their capability is of doing that. Now, failing that, I would definitely shoot it down, provided that there's no risk to people on
Vice
the
did
ground.
have Anna Syndrome story on their Twitch
So you
stream.
are surprised that
Fucking
this
Vice.
is just hovering over the continental U.S.
Oh, absolutely, not just the
I think because I've been following the trajectory for a long time because I used to work for Vice back in like 20 years ago almost. A little bit more. Or a little bit less. Probably 17 years ago. I delivered Vice magazine like around Montreal. I drove my van and delivered the magazine all across the city because it started in Montreal, and following its trajectory from this kind of like hipster lifestyle kind of fashion and culture magazine to being this like pro CIA State Department narrative, but for people with tattoos. Media empire. That's been kind of interesting to watch that trajectory over the years. I never met Gavin. I don't know if he was. I think he was still a part of it at that point, but I didn't meet him. I met Sarouche. I moved a plant actually for Sarouche from his mom's house. Can the balloon be shaped into various animals? I wonder if maybe they'll be covering this as well. They might as well.
the continental United States, but over our missile fields and our strategic bomber bases. And so that's a great concern to me that they are collecting intelligence. And look, they obviously are looking for something. They need information that I would assume that they can't get through satellites. And so that's why I would be very interested in getting hold of this, whatever the payload is, and understanding exactly what they're looking for and why. And then, of course, it gives us a good sense of their level of technological capability. The Chinese have been spying on us for years, for decades. We know the FBI tells us that, every 12 hours they open up an espionage case. To me, this is a brazen act. And so at the political level, we have to
The
push
United
back.
States
We
would
have
never
to defend
spy.
American sovereignty.
They would never
And,
spy on
we have to
China
make
or
clear
anyone
to the
else for that
Chinese
matter.
We're not going to tolerate this.
Is that your sense of why it would be flying over Montana, because of that air base that maintains and operates those intercontinental ballistic missiles?
Well, that would
never.
be my first guess, but until we know what type of instrumentation they have in the payload, we wouldn't
Is
know
the
for
Neuron
sure. There
tracker
are other
live? I don't know. We should
facilities,
check into
things
it.
we do in that part of the country. So that's why I would want to get a hold of that technology and find out. But again, that's at the intelligence level. At the
Everyone knows that in China they don't have maps, so the citizens can't escape the authoritarian country, which is why they need the balloon. Think, sir.
The political level, we have to send a very strong message back that we won't tolerate this behavior.
No.
And now, look, maybe there's a counterintelligence value that we see by letting it pass overhead. Maybe there's more. There's always more to this than that meets the eye, and I wouldn't be privy to that now. So I give the Pentagon some room here. But those are the big questions that I think people should ask. Members of Congress should be asking as they dig into this further.
We need more analysis of
What kind of options
this.
does the U.S. have for responding, for sending the message that you think that they should send?
Well, again, first, either capturing the equipment or shooting it down would be a strong message. There's obviously, you would demarch the country, but we should, again, increase our activities as well. Recall when Speaker Pelosi visited Taiwan last summer, the Chinese ramped up their crossings of the Taiwan centerline with.
You notice how the provocations always only come in one direction, right? Of course, Pelosi went to Taiwan directly and intentionally violating the One China policy and intentionally provoking them when they repeatedly say we consider this visit a provocation. That's how we will take it if you do this visit. They do it anyway, and then they're like, China responded with it, and it's like these provocative maneuvers. It always comes in just one direction. What's the latest update? How can we be sure the balloon hasn't reconfigured into a physical threat? Is it like a Trojan horse type situation? Like that previous chatter was saying, is it filled with PLA super soldiers ready to deploy at any time over any town USA? We don't know. We need more news coverage on this before we can get to the bottom of this.
Both ships and aircraft, and I never got the sense that we responded forcefully back. You got to match the Chinese head to head. We can't be self-deterred, and we can't let the Chinese Communist Party push us around. They will only respond to, resolve, to commitment, and we need to show that.
It's the only thing these people understand.
Mark, as we were reporting on this yesterday, we heard from the Pentagon. They say this has actually happened before.
We cannot allow a weather balloon
administration,
gap.
When you were defense secretary during that time period, were you aware of this? How was it resolved? What can you tell us about that?
I read that. I was surprised. I don't ever recall somebody coming into my office or reading anything that the Chinese had a surveillance balloon above the United States.
And you would obviously know that if that had happened when you were defense secretary.
It's filled with fentanyl.
I would remember that for sure. I mean, my focus was on implementing the national defense strategy to take on the Chinese as the greatest strategic threat facing our country. So I was keen on everything Chinese. We set up a red cell within the Pentagon to deal with it. We reoriented the military's doctrine. And
I'm keen on everything Chinese as well.
All those things focused on the Chinese. So I would be very curious as to why Chinese surveillance balloons were overflying the United States. So that would have caught my attention for sure. I don't recall it ever happening.
If you were at the Pentagon and this did happen and the Secretary of State was about to go on a trip to China, what would your advice to the Secretary of State be? Would you say to cancel the trip? Would you say to make sure this is the first thing they bring up? What would your advice be?
The balloon.
Well, I suspect Secretary Pompeo shared my views as well with regard to China. And I don't know how we would have reacted. I mean,
as do most political Twitch streamers as well, including our most prominent ones.
To give a very, very strong statement.
I hope some of our most prominent left-wing Twitch streamers who are back on the China bad beat. I hope that this is going to be covered in detail by all our China bad Twitch streamer friends, because this provocation should not be allowed to stand. I certainly hope that some of our political Twitch streamers in this crazy world of Twitch are going to cover this explosive story. I wore my Rob Rousseau Institute sweatshirt to the gym today and beat a bunch of my PRs. Coincidence? No, the shirt gives power. Hell yeah, I love that. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm glad. It will be covered thoroughly and responsibly. I hope so.
Of China violating our sovereignty. And so there are different ways to approach this, and it just depends on the broader dynamics. And look, on the other hand, I think the Pentagon made a good move with regard to expanding our access to Philippine bases. This was something that we were working on during my tenure at the Pentagon as well, is how do you expand U.S. access to bases in the Philippines? And it's very good that we've done that, because it allows us to address military Chinese military capabilities in case war breaks out in the Indo-Pacific.
Do you think Blinken should cancel his trip?
That's an option that should be considered, but I think we need to know more, and we need to assess what's happening in the broader context. Curiously, the Chinese are not outright denying it as they would typically do. They're saying, well, we would never violate someone's sovereignty. So the way they're playing this is quite curious to me as well.
What does it say to you about the state of U.S.-China relations right now that they would take an act that you described as brazen as this?
Well, it's not well. The relations are not good. They have not been good for some time. Certainly,
Whose fault is that,
in the
sir?
months leading up to Xi Jinping's seizure of a third term as chairman of the party last October. But look, they're not getting better. He's tried to change his tack a little bit, realizing that Chinese foreign policy isn't playing well in the international community. But I don't think we should be.
It seems like it's playing pretty well to me.
I don't think we should be fooled by what they're doing. They have an aggressive plan to build a modern military over the next decade, and they've stated that their aim by 2049 is to dominate the Indo-Pacific, if not the global order, and change the rules and norms. And so that is their grand strategy, and we need to be cognizant of that and do everything we can to push back on this to try and change their behavior.
It's terrifying shit. There's more coverage of this. We got Al Jazeera. I need more info about this. I need way more info. I need way more info about this. Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirms that the airship is from China. It's a civilian airship used for research, mainly meteorological purposes. Affected by westerlies and with limited self-steering capability, the airship deviated far from its planned course. That sounds like something a Chinese spy would say. Civilian meteorological airship. A likely story.
Position of the balloon classified?
Phil, right now, what we're not going to do is get into a hour-by-hour location of the balloon. Again, we're monitoring it closely. As I mentioned, right now, it's over the center of the continental United States. That's about as specific as I'm going to get.
But I understand it might be inconvenient, but does the public not have a right to know if a balloon
the
is
public
over their
certainly
state?
has the ability to look up in the sky and see where the balloon is.
How are these people not laughing? Come on. Come on. I tried to find another humorous video to look at. It's too obscure though. Let's see if I can. Just give me one moment. Oh, the whole movie's there. Okay, hold on. Don't mind me. The payoff for this will be very funny. The payoff for this will be very funny. Don't you worry, okay? Now, folks, I know this is really alarming, but I have some more exclusive footage of the balloon situation, and I hope if any of you are sensitive to this kind of really scary footage, I would just want to give everyone a little content warning about this. This footage this incredibly disturbing footage of the balloon that I'm about to show you. Okay? Oh no.
So what does this whole story mean? The only way to be happy is to know you won't be happy
Terrible.
every single day. La 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 la.
Terrible.
Oh no! Come to Grandma!
Awful. a bunch of dumbass Americans blinding themselves, looking directly at the sign, mistaking it for a balloon. They can't be, just because the balloon is flying close to the sun, though. I don't think that's a reason to not make sure you're clocking its location at all times, though. This kid is reporting everything he sees right to the CCP. You got to take this out with a cruise missile right away. I know the optics are bad when you blow up a small child. The longer you wait, the more info that he's radioing down to President Xi himself. That was one of the best Trump moments. That was tremendous. The Chinese sent a balloon and they're laughing. Folks, I just want to remind you, while we're covering this exclusive story, this highly explosive, dangerous situation, there is a polar vortex happening in Montreal right now. It's minus 26 degrees. So as you see in the title of this stream, you can send me one warmth by subscribing to the channel for the low price of $4.99. That's how you keep me warm today, and I would appreciate it a lot. And that's how this coverage stays on the air, right? Obviously, the mainstream media is going way too soft on this. I don't think they're covering this story enough. I don't think they're covering this story enough.
Old Rob to talk you through all this.
They're being way too soft. They're not allowing these like security types to suggest that they shouldn't blow up the balloon. I think they should be staying on them more. So if you want to fund coverage that's going to get really tough, not like the pro CCP mainstream media, please subscribe to this channel or gift subscriptions. You, of course, for our very generous 5 and 10 sub gifters, you get some wonderful alerts on those gift subs. It helps keep the content on the air. And please join Twitch's only 2-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. Thank you, 10,000 sandwiches, for the gifted sub. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm just periodically reminding people. I don't want to spend too long cracking the whip on that. When you switch back and forth. What else do we have here? We got more of this.
关于这个气球的问题，刚刚我已经讲了，我们正在了解。
Anthony Blinken China visit postponed over spy balloon row.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Patriots, the MSM doesn't want you to know China
we're getting
is
breaking
actually
news
bad.
in this regard. According to Bloomberg News, the Biden administration has
That's right, Matt. Thank you so much for the 17 months of Tier 1. I really appreciate it. These are the hard-hitting stories that the mainstream media is not going to tell you.
over Montana.
They don't have the courage that I do to say China bad. The mods may delete
the
this.
first time that a balloon has curtailed a diplomatic
The mods
visit.
may delete this, but China bad.
Rather odd happenings in the sky above the United States, of course. And as you say, the Chinese have said that this was a meteorological data gathering balloon that somehow blew off course. The question is,
Sounds
how
an
will we ever know?
overinflated
Are
issue
the
to me.
Chinese
Oh my goodness. Manatee Bob coming in here with the heat. Coming in with the heat right away. My gosh. You're not, in fact, you shouldn't be overshadowing me with those kind of jokes. That's taking it too far. I know this is going to get downvoted, but that's right. I'm the only Twitch streamer brave enough to hold China to account.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you very much to our valued community member, Fart Party 69. Thank you very, very much, Fart Party 69. Live in London. Yeah, I believe this is an Indian international news network going live in London to talk about the Chinese balloon over Montana.
Waiting for the winds to blow it back over China, for then China to retrieve it onto the ground and collect data about the weather? Or is it the US suspicions that are right? And that suspicion, of course, primarily is that this is a spy balloon. This is not a small balloon. We are told it's the size of about 3 buses. It certainly
U.S.
carries a lot
China
of
relations
data
have been
on
blown
board.
off
But
course.
in this current
Oh, my.
spat between China and the U.S. over exactly what kind of balloon this is, it's hard to see how we will get to a final determination what's going to happen to it. Of course, there are demands to shoot it down, led predictably by Donald Trump, rather fond of shorthand and dramatic measures. But unless that
This
happens,
is very busy.
unless we come to some sort of a conclusion, and that question really is uncertain. It is, in fact, if you like, a question that is up in the air.
All right, it literally is up in the air. Sanjay, thanks for that. Let me go across also to CNN correspondent Alex Marquardt, who's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Alex, first things first, reports, including this one that I cited a moment ago from Bloomberg News, suggesting that the Biden administration has decided to postpone Secretary of State Antony Blinken's upcoming visit to Beijing. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, we have now confirmed this. CNN is reporting that Blinken is postponing his trip to Beijing that was due to take place next week. This was just confirmed by State Department officials just moments ago.
We had a the fact that he was going over there in the first place, given this kind of provocation, I think is
that is now
disgusting.
over American airspace is a clear violation of American sovereignty, and that it would not be constructive at this time to go forward with this meeting. This meeting due to take place in just a couple of days. Secretary Blinken was due to leave very soon in order to get to Beijing. This was going to be the highest level meeting of a Biden administration official in China since President Biden came into office.
You can't have diplomacy with this kind of provocation going on.
At the G20 in Bali back
Totally
in November.
agree.
Now this meeting is off, but they are saying it is postponed. It has not been canceled. They do plan to put this meeting back on the
American
table.
troops in Taiwan, not a violation of Chinese sovereignty.
But when asked by CNN what those conditions
would look
like,
as I pointed out
they were
repeatedly,
not,
encircling China with military bases in Taiwan, in Okinawa, in Japan, South Korea, the Philippines. You have AUKUS and these American nuclear-powered submarines around there. But then they go ahead and do this kind of provocation. That's disgusting. That's disgusting, folks. This aggressiveness. This aggressive balloon.
And now we know that that trip has been postponed. We know that urgent and angry messages have been sent to Beijing, both through the highest-ranking Chinese officials here at the embassy in Washington and through the U.S. embassy in Beijing.
And Alex, what are the options before U.S. officials at this point of time vis-a-vis this balloon? Is shooting down the balloon one of those options? Already we're seeing our former president.
Outrun, Marty, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate that. Thank you. China must stop their economic growth. It directly provokes the U.S. That's right.
A lot of people saying that they wish that that was the course of action that President Biden was taking.
I wish it was too. I really wish they would shoot down this balloon. I think they should do it.
It's very simple to shoot this thing down. President Biden did get a briefing in which he asked for military options. He was told by top military officials that it was not a good idea to shoot this balloon down because of the potential damage that could be done to people and property on the ground.
The woke
Pentagon believes this
military
is not
advisors to the
threat
Democrats,
to the
of course they'd say something
population,
like that.
to Homeland Security, and they say that they have taken steps to limit the surveillance and intelligence gathering capabilities of this balloon. Now,
Blinken heard he was going to get the Trudeau treatment for President Xi. He's like, yeah, we better postpone this because of the
quite sparsely
balloon.
populated. And so we've heard some people, including several Republicans, saying, why not just shoot it down where there is barely anyone out there? But the administration is arguing that for the potential of that damage of a falling craft, while right now they say it is not posing any danger.
Send Tom Cruise up there. Send the F-35s.
That right now, as we speak, there is this Chinese spy balloon, according to the Pentagon, floating over.
Folks, now is the perfect time. You want to show on a global level the American air superiority. Show the superiority of these F-35s. You've put $1 trillion fucking into these planes. Send the F-35s up there with the whole world watching. Shoot them out of the sky. Put Tom Cruise in one of them. Yeah, they're worried about damage on the ground. That sounds like pussy shit to me.
关于这个气球的问题，刚刚我已经讲了，我们正在了解核实情况，希望双方能够共同冷静谨慎处理。
They want us to believe that China would send a giant obvious balloon to spy, and that the U.S. military would allow it to be
And we're getting
afraid
breaking
and
news
shoot
in
it
this
down.
regard. According to Bloomberg News, the Biden administration has decided to postpone Secretary of State Antony Blinken's upcoming visit to Beijing. This is after the Chinese surveillance balloon was detected over Montana. Sanjay Suri has more details on this. Sanjay, this would arguably be the first time that a balloon has curtailed a diplomatic visit.
I would say, yeah, I hope so. I think it is the first such incident.
Above the United States, of course. And as you say,
They just
the
did this to
Chinese
get him
have
spending
said
time
that
with
this was
Blinken.
a meteorological data gathering balloon that somehow blew off course. The question is, how will we ever know? Are the Chinese
The
waiting
graphics
for the
are
winds to blow it back
pretty over
over
the top.
China, for then China to retrieve it onto the ground and collect data about the weather? Or is it the U.S. suspicions that are right? And that suspicion, of course, primarily is that this is a spy balloon. This is not a small balloon.
It's both depressing but entirely expected. All the news sources are just saying spy balloon as if it was facts. That's right.
But in this current spat between China and
Spy
the U.S.
balloon.
over exactly what kind
Including
of balloon
this news
is,
network, because that's what I believe as well.
hard to see how we will get to a final determination what's going to happen to it. Of course, there are demands to shoot it down, led predictably by Donald Trump, rather fond of shorthand and dramatic measures. But unless that happens,
What did Trump say about this?
unless we come to some sort of a conclusion, and that question really is...
GM, everyone just got back from shooting a gun into the sky to bring down the spy balloon. I missed, but didn't get spied on. Unfortunately, a small child was injured when one of the balloons crashed down to, when one of the bullets crashed down to Earth. G. Gillespie accidentally wounded a small child in the leg, but that's just the price you have to pay to protect yourself from this Chinese threat. You know, and the kid shouldn't have been there in the first place, so...
What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, we have now confirmed this. CNN is reporting that Blinken is postponing his trip to Beijing that was due to take place next week. This was just confirmed by State Department officials just moments ago. We had a briefing call with them. They said that it would that this
Officials in the U.S. are
This Pentagon press conference was an hour long. Holy Lord. We're through the looking glass here, people.
Okay.
Let's get on Fox.
This is a Fox News alert and a very strange story. The Pentagon, as you may have heard, is now tracking a very high-altitude Chinese spy balloon over the northern United States. Apparently it's over Montana right now. You're seeing photographs of that balloon on your screen. The Pentagon has decided for some reason not to shoot down the balloon, even though they say it's flying over some, quote, sensitive sites. So there are intercontinental ballistic missile silos in that area. What is this? Joining us now is Jamil Jaffer from the National Security Institute. Jamil, thanks so much for coming on. This, presidents make a lot of complicated decisions. This doesn't seem complicated. There's a Chinese.
What is
spy balloon. Why
happening
not
if they're
shoot it down?
focusing on the balloon
What do you
so
think is
much?
happening here?
Yeah, it's a great question, Tucker. You know what's really interesting about this incident is that the Defense Department has made clear that this isn't the first time that we've seen Chinese spy balloons over U.S. territory in the past. What's interesting about this particular incident is the fact that we've called it out, we've made it public, and that they actually froze the airspace over Billings, Montana, and put planes up thinking about taking the shot. Now, why they didn't take the shot, why they didn't take it down,
Take the shot!
Hard to know, Tucker. But it's worth noting, back in 2001, the Chinese forced down an American spy plane on Hainan Island,
A spy
kidnapped
plane.
U.S. airmen and airwomen for a number of days, and stole a bunch of surveillance assets off that plane.
A spy
That was
plane.
almost 2 decades ago.
So you almost answered my question. Do you think if the American Pentagon floated a spy balloon over Chinese missile bases, that Chairman Xi would say, I'm not really sure how to respond. Maybe we should just let it keep floating?
Yeah, look, I think that's highly unlikely. I mean, you saw Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan just a few months back, and Kevin McCarthy is going to Taiwan shortly, and the Chinese were threatening to shoot down Nancy Pelosi's plane. So, it's clear that
And
the
I wish
Chinese
they
would
had.
take action. It's surprising that we're not.
You want to be as fair as you can in situations like this because there's so much we don't know, and you're tempted to leap the conclusion these people are completely impotent. But could there be a good reason they're not shooting it down?
Well, you could say that they wanted to see where it's going to go, what it's trying to track. Is it looking at our ICBMs? Is it looking at something else? They may be collecting information off of it, too. So there's a possibility there are good reasons for not shooting it down. But it is odd that you would announce it, make it clear that you've seen it, and then not take action.
Well, that's exactly right. It's such a smart observation. I appreciate it. Jamil Jaffer, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tucker.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel.
Canada monitoring.
Institutes and then work on critical strategic and military projects, and then they have taken away quite a bit of technology, which is now evident in terms of the design of the drones and aircrafts and many other things. So I think the larger message that China is right now trying to send by these balloons is that if you can reach in my backyard, we can also reach your backyard, because in the last few months, and especially in general over the last
This is scary stuff, Freds.
Communist eye in the sky, that's what they're calling it. So the Pentagon says the balloon does not pose a threat. It is moving well above air traffic, commercial air traffic, but officials are advising the president not to shoot it down over concerns that falling debris from this balloon could hurt people on the ground.
So here's what we think we know. The balloon entered U.S. airspace a couple of days ago. It flew eastward into Montana. It's not clear what it was doing there, but the state is home to one of 3 U.S. Air Force bases with intercontinental ballistic missiles.
The discovery coming just days before Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to visit, guess where? Well, Beijing. Meanwhile, China reacting with a statement saying it is looking into the balloon, but General Jack Keane says he's not buying that.
What we do know is they've done this before. We know it's a spy balloon. It's going to depart at some time, and we don't want this to happen again. So shoot it down on the way home.
But I ain't gonna give any more.
When it gets back out
Don't
at sea,
ask
we already
me.
know who's spying.
That's how it goes.
To me, it's
Part
about
of
deterrence.
me knows what you
Chief National Security
think.
Correspondent Jennifer Griffin has more from the Pentagon. Jennifer, what do we know this morning?
Don't say
Well, Dana, the Chinese Foreign
words
Ministry
you're
just released a
gonna
statement in which
regret.
it claimed responsibility for the balloon, claiming it is quote,
Don't
a civilian airship used
fire
for civilian
rush to
research,
your
mainly
head.
meteorological purposes. In other words, it's a weather balloon. No
Heard
reaction
the
yet from the Pentagon.
accusation
This is not the
before.
first time Beijing has sent this
And
kind
I
of
ain't
spy
gonna
balloon over
take
U.S.
any
territory.
more,
They've done so
believe
before
me.
over Hawaii
Sun in
and
your
Guam.
eyes.
Canada is
Some
now
of the
reporting that
lies
they may have
worth
spotted a second
believing.
balloon and are monitoring. The Pentagon has been watching this balloon for
Eye in the
several
sky,
days. I'm told that the
looking at
president has not
you.
ruled out shooting down the
I can
balloon, but
read
simply
your
wants to
mind.
avoid the possibility
I
of
am the
American
maker
civilian
of
casualties.
rules,
The balloon is the size
dealing
of
with
3 Greyhound buses and has
I can
heavy equipment
cheat you
hanging
blind.
from beneath it. A senior defense official
I
told
ain't
reporters
gonna
the Chinese
need any
surveillance
more
balloon
to know
appears to have
that
been sent by
I
Beijing
can
to spy on
read
sensitive
your
sites
mind.
in Montana, one of 3 U.S.
I
bases where the
can
U.S.
read
houses
your
its
mind.
intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear missile
I
silos.
can read your mind.
The balloon is currently traveling
I
at an
can
altitude well
read
above
your
commercial
mind.
air traffic and does not present a military or physical
There's a
threat
second
to
balloon
people
now.
on the
A
ground.
second balloon has hit the
Instances of
airspace.
this kind of balloon activity have been observed previously over the past several years. Once the balloon was detected,
China
the
claims
US
balloon
government
is
acted
civilian
immediately to
airship.
protect against the collection of sensitive information.
The U.S. military scrambled
Second in
F-22
Canada,
fighter
fuck.
jets Wednesday and closed the Billings, Montana airport for 2 hours, ordering a ground stoppage in case
Imagine
the
if your
president
flight
gave
was
an
delayed
order
because of this
to
balloon.
shoot the balloon
Shit,
down.
they're
The
scrambling
president
the
was
jets.
briefed by his national security team about his options. President Biden was advised by his military chiefs about the possibility for civilian casualties if they were to shoot the balloon down
Fuck
over
it.
the continental
What do you
U.S.
care about civilian
Adding the
casualties, or
surveillance
you can
balloon
just
does
let them
not
spy
provide the
on you
Chinese
like that?
government with more intelligence
roll the
than
jet
it can
B-roll.
glean from existing low-orbit satellites. U.S. officials tell me they have mitigated the
What do you
ability
care
for
about
this balloon
civilian
to
casualties?
survey
They
any
could be, they're
sensitive
clocking
sites,
your
blocking
ICBMs
it
right
from
now.
doing so, and that they are learning a lot by monitoring.
That's not
the
worth
balloon.
taking the risk.
Jennifer, a lot of people are wondering why the administration wouldn't have just shot it out of the sky immediately, especially
Yes,
if it
that was Eye in
under,
the Sky by the Alan Parsons
uninhabited
Project.
mountainous
Yes,
areas
one of my
in
favorite
Montana. Is
songs.
there any good reason for that?
I think
Really, I
what-
should
from
probably
the
do a cover of
discussions
that
that
song.
I've had is that there is no way, given the size of this thing, the potential debris field, that even in areas that you think are uninhabited, it wasn't
It's
clear
worth the risk,
that
frankly.
they could take a shot and avoid any civilian
Great song, Marty.
casualties. And so I think that is the consideration. They have
Fucking
not
great
ruled
song.
out shooting it down eventually, but there are other ways that they may be able to deal with it. They have other options.
Do you want to get
that,
spied on or what? This sounds like a bunch of loser shit. I think they want to get spied on.
Feeling that this was sent by China at a sensitive time ahead of Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to Beijing.
They were too intimidated by Anthony fucking
out
Blinken. They were like, we must put a stop to this visit.
To get 4 new bases that the U.S. is able to use for its military to counter China in the region. And so this is such a thing that most people assume that the Chinese wanted this to be seen. And so the question is really, what intelligence value did it have?
Yeah, one more, Jennifer. Says it was flying higher than commercial aircraft. So if an airplane flies at 35,000 feet, what is this? Is it
This is about
50,000 or higher?
60,000 feet.
The
is
balloon
what
could
I'm
fall on one
told,
of our
so that's
treasured
about twice
libertarian
as what
guys
an
pretending to live
airplane
off the grid.
Flies, though some pilots, we're told, were reporting visually being able to see the balloon. You've obviously seen some of the photographs that have been taken, but no, 60,000 feet, so it's very much above commercial aircraft.
Thank you,
travel.
Jennifer. Back to you throughout the day when we get more.
Thank you.
Nice to see you from the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube.
This is another sign of weakness from
Congressman
Biden.
James Comer of Kentucky, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, is
true.
in focus now. What is your greatest concern as we track something that is the size of 3 buses
It's
now?
the size of
China
3
says
buses,
taken by
folks.
wind that we can't substantiate.
Well, I have concern this is going to be another example of the Biden administration's weakness on the national scale. I mean, you look
Let's
at
go,
what happened in
Brandon.
Afghanistan. That hurt the reputation of America's military strength. That hurt the reputation of our commander-in-chief. And now we have China clearly playing games with the United States. This balloon never should have been allowed to cross over into the past the Pacific coast under the continental United States. Never should have happened. You know, my concern is that the federal government obviously doesn't know what's in that balloon. Is that bioweapons in that balloon? Did that balloon take off from Wuhan? You know, we don't know anything about that balloon, but the fact that this balloon was slowly making its way to the United States for several days, and this administration never alerted anyone about the possibility of this
Bioweapons from
balloon.
Wuhan? Did I miss
concerning.
that?
It's very concerning that it for several days, and this administration never that the federal government obviously doesn't know what's in that balloon. Is that bioweapons in that balloon? Did that balloon take off from Wuhan? You know, we don't know anything about that.
We don't
balloon,
know.
But the fact that
We
this
don't-
balloon
that's the
was
thing, we just don't
slowly
know.
making its way to the United States for several days, and this administration never alerted anyone.
There's a migrant caravan in the balloon.
It's very concerning. It's
Fentanyl.
very concerning they didn't shoot it out of the
It's a
air
migrant
before it even
caravan, and they've all just.
Chairman, let me
they're
stop you
living
there. What do you mean
bioweapons.
never
They've taken
alerted
so much
anyone? You mean
fentanyl.
people on Capitol Hill were not being briefed national security briefings about this giant object in the sky?
No one on the House Oversight Committee. Now, I don't know about the Intelligence Committee
Baloohan.
or the
Oh,
House, but I
my.
can tell you the overwhelming majority of members of Congress that
Yes,
I've
this would be
spoken
the
to
most
in the
watched
last
news network in
24 hours
USA.
had no
That's right.
idea about this. So this administration, again, is the least transparent administration in the history of America. This is very concerning. Unless China's working with the Biden administration to help find some of those missing documents that are scattered all over the United States, then this is unacceptable and this should not be allowed. And again, another sign of weakness on the international stage by our commander-in-chief.
Look, it's a reason that the balloon was
You hate to see
wafting
it.
well above commercial and military airlanes. Jennifer Griffin said it's flying at 60,000 feet, and they've been tracking it for several days. And for your committee that you chair, no
Look at that,
notice
Canada.
of this.
Not even Canada
there's
is
so many
safe.
problems inherent in
Like,
that.
we better show a couple where all the other Air Force bases are as well. They obviously need this balloon to look at these bases, but just in case you're not familiar, let's look at a map. We can show you the Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, but let's look at the Minot Air Force Base right there at that exact location, and the F.E. Warren Air Force Base there in Wyoming, and the Mark Nellis Air Force Base there in Nevada. You know, let's make sure that we show the map showing all those as well, in case they didn't get all the intel. Maybe you're walking right into their trap, Fox. Did you think about that? Maybe you're walking right into their trap. You're exposing your whole operation now while you're freaking out about this balloon. This is a weak country, you know? This is a country that's on the verge of collapse, a society that's on the verge of collapse. Just paranoid. The fucking paranoia that they're freaking out. Like, this is the coverage we've seen, but because of a balloon. It's the size of 3 buses. This multiple bus-sized balloon has caused this level of freak out. This is not projecting strength. This is not projecting global strength. This is a paranoid, deeply paranoid country. Now people know that Rome fell due to a balloon. That's right, the classic, that classic incident from history that we all know. Yeah, if the official mission is to make Americans look stupid, mission accomplished. That's right. That's what we were saying before. They should send another one now. They're probably just why they're claiming responsibility for it. Oh yeah, it's our balloon, but it's a weather balloon. Yeah. Is the picture of the balloon on the map scaled to size? It is. That's how big it is. That's how big this thing is. It's almost the size of the entire state. That's how dangerous this is. That's how dangerous this situation is. You know, I don't want World War III to start, but if it did have to start, I would want it to be over this. You know? Like, I don't want it, obviously. If it's going to happen, if it's an inevitability, I do want it to at least happen because of this. You know what I mean? That's not saying like, oh, I think it would be great if that happened. I don't think that. I'm just saying if it's going to happen, we could at least just support it being the funniest story that could launch the whole thing. You know, or one thing that we could kind of hold on to.
We'll continue to cover it. Let's move to this. Hunter Biden's lawyers are now saying their letter, the letter that they sent, does not.
They're pivoting to Hunter. Is there anything else about the balloon? Where's the balloon?
Communist.
We've got to check in with our China watchers over this.
China admits the balloon hovering over Montana is theirs. They're calling it a weather balloon. We can now confirm that Secretary of State Antony Blinken will postpone his trip to China indefinitely, and it is because of that balloon. Congressman Chris Stewart,
Our
Republican,
reaction is the same as in Villanova's
phone now.
arrival. Just
Congressman,
like
you're a former Air Force pilot.
our whole
Should we
society
shoot
is
this thing
shutting down over this.
Well, I don't know if we should shoot it down, but I can tell you this. We should absolutely make it clear we will not allow this to happen again. I mean, look, this isn't a weather balloon. Anyone who believes that is you're very, very
Not me.
naive. It's clearly an intelligence and reconnaissance asset. And it's
Well,
clearly...
how is it? Obviously, I agree, but how is it? How is it obviously an intelligence gathering spy balloon? Like, how is that obvious? It's just like a big giant balloon. As they've acknowledged themselves, they have satellites. As they've acknowledged themselves, the location of these military bases doesn't appear to be a secret. They keep showing the map with all the bases on it. Because it's on top of us. Balloon me once, shame on you. Balloon me twice, so I can't get ballooned again. That's right. The classic saying. This isn't a weather balloon. It's clearly a battle bus, and they're going to take over Tomato Town in the coming days. Have we checked in on the citizens of Tomato Town recently? Let's go check in with them. They didn't even paint the balloon a sky color. It's a classic mistake. Classic mistake. You know the TikTok balloon content is going to spiral out of control. We might have to investigate that. I think we should spend the whole day talking about this. I think we should spend the entire day talking about this situation. We should treat this with the same seriousness that our media and our political figures are treating it.
Violating international agreements, that we wouldn't do this, that they shouldn't do this. And I honestly, I don't think the opportunity to shoot it down may present itself again. But if this were to reoccur, we should have a very, very definitive line that China just simply cannot cross.
It's the size, we're told that it is the size, this balloon is the size of 3 buses, 3 school buses.
3 buses.
And it's got heavy equipment hanging from underneath it. And it's hovering or flying right over our missile sites in Montana and the Dakotas. That sounds like a threat to me.
Me too.
Yeah, once again, it
we need the proper leftist analysis of the balloon. We need to examine the historical and material conditions that led to the launching of this balloon. We need to approach this from a dialectical perspective, as we do everything.
And I'm glad Secretary Blinken's not going there. He shouldn't go there. We need to make it
three buses, 2 buses I could believe, but you're telling me it's 3?
Such as this that we find
Crazy.
Over our airspace if this occurs again.
We've recently increased our troop strength or the size of our military capabilities in the Philippines. We've been talking with Taiwan about defensive weapons for them.
Defensive.
And now we've got this balloon.
We're parking all our defensive weapons. We're encircling China with defensive weapons. It's crazy that they're being provocative over that.
Well, it is, and I think it's fair to point out we're not being provocative towards China.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Bloods TD7.
Thank you, Sir Brain Damage. Thank you, Sir Brain Damage, for the 11 months of Tier 1. You just explained how you're being provocative. We're not being provocative. We're not being provocative soundbite is provoking a lot of questions that were supposed to be answered by the soundbite.
The relationship between the United States and China is going downhill rapidly.
Well, it is, and I think it's fair to point out we're not being provocative towards China. We're not sending intelligence assets over China mainland. We're not threatening
we're just encircling them.
Sovereign nation. Like
they care about their sovereignty.
Taiwan.
This unprovoked weather balloon. This unprovoked balloon. This unprovoked balloon is hovering, is flying over Montana, not hovering. And you're laughing. Yeah, 10K troops in South Korea, Taiwan, and Japan. Yeah, and nukes as well, but Lady Cenobite, is this true? Is this true? News coming in that woke teachers are forcing children to salute the balloon. Disgusting. Just unbelievable. You couldn't even shoot down this kind of balloon with cancel culture how it is these days. I would admit, I provoked the balloon last week. I didn't expect it to go this far. Sometimes you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions, you know? We've all been there. You need a lethal aid package of balloons to send to Ukraine. Clearly it's the most dangerous item in any country's arsenal. They're kneeling for the flag. They're saluting the balloon. Very unfortunate. The balloon is transmitting Blinken's assassination coordinates over Twitter. Shocking. We don't have intelligence assets in China. Are you kidding me? Of course not. Who the fuck do you think the Michaels were? As we're saying this kind of stuff. Do people understand what intelligence agencies do? Clearly, this man is counting on people that not understanding. Babylon B going to have a headline like Biden refuses to shoot down spy balloon because it identifies as a civilian aircraft or some shit. You must be able to come up with a bad conservative website and scam somebody for it. We could do conservative media better than they could do it. Maybe that's something we should look into.
Open, and in fact, we're very deceptive about COVID and how we could have helped, that they could have helped us protect the rest of the world. I mean, the list goes on and on.
They were so concerned with
China
protecting the
not
world
being,
from COVID.
Not only
that's why they took the threat so seriously. That's why they helped get vaccines out to the global south.
I think more and more people are recognizing that. But this last incident, we haven't seen anything like that, not in our history with China, and it just cannot go unanswered.
Got it. Congressman Chris Stewart, thanks very much for jumping on the show so fast there. So we do appreciate it, because this is a very big developing story.
Oh, yeah.
Congressman, thanks very much.
Clearly it's big. I can't even recall a recent moment when the media came together like this, to this extent. I want to see if Justin's weighed in on it.
Did you know there's allegedly a Chinese spy balloon flying over the United States right now? The Pentagon says it's been monitoring the object for a number of days, but they aren't going to shoot it down because of concerns
It's as big as 3
about
buses.
falling debris harming people below. US officials believe the balloon left China, traveled over Alaska, then Canada, before arriving over the state of Montana on Wednesday. Now, Montana is home to a number of missile sites, but the Pentagon believes that any surveillance this balloon offers is not much more than what Chinese satellites can already detect.
China says the balloon was used for weather research and was blown off course.
Did you know there's allegedly a Chinese spy balloon flying over the United States right now? The Pentagon says it's been monitoring the object.
The scene said it was one.
Did you know there's allegedly a Chinese spy balloon?
Unbelievable. Pentagon rejects China's claim.
In regards to our announcement last night regarding the high-altitude surveillance balloon, I'm not going to have much new information to provide other than to say that the North American Aerospace Defense Command continues to monitor it closely. While we won't get into specifics in regards to the
Get into
exact
school to watch
location,
this
I can
monumental
tell you
balloon
that the
coverage.
balloon continues to move eastward and is currently over the center of the continental United States. Again, we currently assess that the balloon does not present a military or physical threat to people on the ground at this time, and will continue to continue to monitor and review options. Finally, Secretary Austin will host a bilateral
Trudeau has a lot
meeting
to answer for
today
letting
here in
this
the
threat
Pentagon
into the
with
USA.
Australian
Seriously,
Deputy Prime
Baldwin.
Minister and Minister of Defense Richard Marles. The Secretary looks forward to
Yeah, I don't think it is
discussing
stupid,
bilateral
G.
defense
Cluffy. I think it's
cooperation
important that we spend the
and our
entire
mutual
day
security efforts
talking
within
about
the
this.
Indo-Pacific region and beyond. A full readout.
I don't think you're taking this seriously enough.
Today to defense.gov. And with that, we'll go ahead and move to your questions. We'll start with
They probably thought it was a U.S. spy balloon and just said, oh, okay, go
Hi,
ahead.
Pat. Thank you for doing this. China has said this
Thank
is
you for
just
doing
a
this. You
weather
got to thank
balloon
the
that has veered
general.
off course.
Thank the
Why
Pentagon
is the
general.
Pentagon convinced that this is a surveillance balloon? And then can you give us a little bit more on the status of the balloon? You said it's in the central U.S. What state? Do you have any guidance for people as they see this balloon, or they're trying to photograph it, or maybe try and interfere with it?
Sure. Thanks, Tara. So first of all, we are aware of the PRC's statement. However, the fact is we know that it's a surveillance balloon, and I'm not going to be able to be more specific than that. We do know that the balloon has violated U.S. airspace and international law, which is unacceptable. And so we've conveyed this directly to the PRC at multiple levels. And in terms of specific locations, I'm not going to be able to go into specific locations, again, other than to say it's moving eastward at this time. Yeah, you had a follow-up?
I love the reporters, though. This is their moment to shine in these national security moments.
Not to interfere, not photograph.
This is when they all get to pretend that they're
so
like
the balloon
big,
is currently assessed
you know,
to be
they're
at about
doing like actual
60,000
journalism.
feet, so again, well above the range of civilian air traffic or civilian
They all think that
air traffic.
whenever
would
these kind of
normally
like
fly.
national security stories come up, they all think they have the fedora hats with the little press card in it. They all think they're the gumshoe reporters talking about these dangerous threats.
Certainly aware that there are cameras, civilian-owned commercial cameras that could spot this balloon. In terms of guidance to folks, again, this is something that NORAD is closely monitoring.
I hope
we
so.
do assess at this time that it does not pose a physical threat, as I mentioned, to people on the ground. So we'll just leave it at that. Jennifer.
We go down to this live balloon
General Ryder,
reaction.
who is controlling this balloon right now?
President Xi
Again,
sitting there
we
with just like
know
a
that this is a Chinese balloon, but beyond that, I'm not going to have
joystick, like one of those old
You
school
say that it's moving
joysticks,
eastward and
piloting
it's over
the balloon.
continental U.S. It's not over Montana anymore. Is the Chinese government controlling the movement of the balloon, or is it just floating with airstreams?
Thanks, Jennifer. So I'm not going to go into any specific.
We can't go into the
intelligence
details
that
about
we
whether
have.
they may or may not be
We
piloting
know
the
this is a
balloon.
Chinese balloon, and that it has the ability to maneuver. But I'll just leave it at that.
And once it's over a body of water, will you shoot it down?
Again, right
These
now we're monitoring
reporters
the
are so
situation
thirsty
closely,
to
reviewing
shoot down the balloon.
have any additional information. We go to Tony.
When it's over water,
One
surely
quickie
you
on
can
the,
shoot down the balloon then.
On the balloon, can you confirm the photos that are out there that this is not the man in the moon and that is the actual balloon?
Thanks, Tony. So certainly aware of photos being posted online. I'm
You
not
never.
gonna
Some of them
get
may be
into the
deep
business
fakes.
of
We don't know.
whether or not those are, where those photos come from. Again, I can tell you that the U.S. government, NORAD, is monitoring this closely, and we will continue to review options.
How close was the U.S. to was the president to ordering a shoot down of the balloon?
Yeah, so again, I'm not going to get into discussions.
They're so thirsty to shoot down this goddamn balloon. These people. Answering every single time. We don't think we're going to shoot it down. They're like, but might there be some kind of situation that might arise? We know now you don't want to shoot it down, but do you think maybe at some point tactically that might shift depending on, we've heard about the debris field and all that, but if we could ensure that there was a lower percentage of possibility, then maybe would you think about it? Would you think about maybe shooting it down? Would you consider it? Are you giving a firm no? Is this a firm no, or are you saying that there's a chance? I need more questions about this. Thank goodness there's 6 more minutes, because I need at least 2 or 3 more questions about
Internal
this.
discussions within the White House. Again, right now we assess that there is no threat, a physical threat or military threat to people on the ground.
If it's
so
okay,
we're continuing to monitor.
If it's a spy balloon, though, why is there no threat? He's saying it's a spy balloon. That sounds like a threat, and now you're saying that there's no threat. I'm getting mixed messages from the Pentagon on this.
And we'll just leave it at
How
that.
much is
Thank
she
you.
paying you,
We go
sir?
to Janie, and then we'll go to Rio.
Thanks, General. Welcome to home. I have 2 questions. Come on. Okay. In response to Secretary Austin's
They're spying on our wind
recent
speed.
remarks that more U.S. strategic assets will come to the South Korea, North
I think it does
Korea
make sense,
warned
James.
of stronger provocations in the near future. What is your comment on this?
Well, it's certainly not surprising given North Korea's track record of making bellicose statements. Again, what we're focused on
Is this related? Did Korea give the
preserving
tacit
peace,
okay for
security, and
this?
stability in the Indo-Pacific region. And so Secretary Austin's visit was an opportunity to, again,
North Korea also, while you're talking about China being encircled by American military bases, and such as the one in South Korea, and then acting provocatively in response to that, North Korea, another very provocative nation. A very provocative nation for the simple fact that America committed genocide in their country and is aiming nuclear missiles at them for the last 70 years and regularly practices on how they're going to militarily invade the country again on their border. For that simple reason, they act all aggressively and provocatively as a result. And I think that's just a damn shame that they're so provocative and violent like that.
and reaffirm our strong and close alliance with the Republic of Korea. And so that will remain our focus, is on working with South Korea and other nations in the
Considering
region
what the U.S. has been doing to China, if this is indeed a spy balloon, it's an
ensure a
underwhelming
free
and
and
reasonable response.
One more. South Korea has announced that it will be test the high-powered monster ballistic missile with nuclear warhead level. This is a defense
You know the Normies are
against
just
North
eating this shit up
Korea's
for sure.
nuclear
Yeah.
warhead.
When will the North Koreans
do you
acquire balloon
agree
technology? This is the dangerous
I'm sorry,
thing.
Jane, I missed the first part of your question. Can you
Part
repeat
is
that?
South Korea has announced that it will be a test a high-powered monster ballistic missile with the nuclear warhead levels.
Is this just now
is
looking at
the-
us from
the-
above
Yeah,
and checking
I
us to see if we're doing
have
fine? I
anything
think
on
so.
that. I'd refer you to the government of South Korea. Thank you. Let me go to Rio, and then I'll come back over here.
Okay, thank you very much. Two questions on the Chinese balloon. So there is a speculation that Chinese balloon flew over Japanese airspace before reaching the U.S., continental U.S. Can you confirm that?
I've seen those press reports. Again, as we acknowledged in our statement that we posted last night, we have seen this type of balloon activity elsewhere before. But again,
We
I'm
can't
not going to get
name
into
names.
intelligence, and I'm not going to have any further information to provide.
We've seen this kind of balloon activity before, folks. We've seen it before. Such as this, we all remember this terrifying situation.
Flies through the night and finds me ready.
How do we know this dangerous individual is not involved?
And now comes the part.
How do we know that this criminal mastermind was not involved in this?
Of your failed and useless lives. But as my plastic surgeon always said, if you gotta go, go with a smile.
We don't know that the Chinese balloon isn't doing this. You know, a side note, Jack Nicholson, he really could have just taken a paycheck for this. And he really fucking brought it in every scene. Just crushed it. He committed.
Get in the car.
Holy inflatables, Batman. China's trying to undermine our sovereignty. This is an accurate representation of the panic going through U.S. newsrooms over this balloon. You know that there was like conference calls and emails, panicked emails being sent in the middle of the night. I wonder how Jeff Newsroom would handle this story, the balloon story. This is what you need to do. I don't understand why you can't treat the balloon like this. They openly admitted how dangerous it is. The Batwing was sick. We don't know that this isn't happening. No bat mandates. Good thing he put this little snipper thing on the front of the bat wing. That was smart. Yeah, the production design is incredible in this, Top Scruffy. This is what President Xi would be saying.
Those are my balloons.
That's what President Xi would be saying if Biden wasn't too woke to shoot down the balloon with the bat wing.
He stole my balloons! Why didn't somebody tell me that he had one of those things?
This is President Xi with Wang Yi.
Going to need a minute or two alone, boys.
Man, remember when Burton was great? Seriously. Everyone involved in this just absolutely crushed it. Just knocked it out of the park. Yeah, Bob was just loyal. Was loyal till his dying breath to the Joker. He just doesn't care at all. If you're one of his henchmen after that, too, how do you continue on in the organization? Like, wouldn't that be kind of alarming? Like, you can literally be the number one guy. I'm a number one, a guy. And you just get murdered right away. Like, what's this guy thinking? You know, what's he thinking at that moment? Here's someone finally talking some sense. And you know what? The guy looks great. Charlie Kirk, he's looking real good. How old is he? Like 24, 23, 24 or something?
This thing's on tour. It's on a scenic tour of the United States. It's like the John Madden blip. It's the Goodyear blimp. Oh yeah, so in the Super
I love that you have a great relationship with chat. Hassan is so adversarial with his chat. Well, we just have nice people in here, Lexi. We cultivate an environment of learning and friendship in here. And I think the mean people don't stay that long because they don't fit in. So we only have we've got a nice group. Why do all these people end up looking like hams? I don't know. This is just what being a conservative influencer does to you.
Bowl, we're all going to point. Oh, there it is. There's our CCP masters as we are becoming pseudo-slaves of the CCP.
Nice.
Property damage, that's the argument. No, because you see he's shifted gears. He said,
Thank you, Charlie.
There might not be human carnage, but there might be property damage.
What is this bullshit excuse?
I speak for almost every red-blooded American over the middle continent of the United States. I think they're willing to take the risk that
this is what I'm saying.
Might be hit by a Chinese drone, a Chinese balloon. But by the way, if their home gets hit by a Chinese balloon, I'm sure that insurance will cover it. Okay, I'm sure there's a line item in your home policy about international objects flying out of the sky. Okay, or maybe the federal government could definitely write you a check. This is the silliest thing, but it just goes to show that someone is obviously controlling him. Who is this person again? By the way, this is at times like this. I wish I wrote for the Babylon Bee. Yesterday, I wrote the headline is that hundreds of thousands of Montanans start firing randomly.
I have a separate Chinese balloon policy.
I'm like, that's a perfect Babylon Bee headline.
Sorry, what's his perfect Babylon Bee headline? I missed that. I was being rudely interrupted by a hater of the stream, G Cluppy. Take some goddamn personal responsibility and have your home destroyed by a weather balloon. I've heard this as well, Moss, that the balloon is carrying hormone blockers and identifies as a cat boy. It's going to drop kitty litter on top of the Midwest, the flyover country, for anyone that identifies as a cat to use as a bathroom. I know Montana is in the Midwest. I know that. Let's just move on. What was this Babylon Bee headline? I want to hear this.
Yesterday I wrote the headline is that hundreds of thousands of Montanans start firing randomly in the sky to take out the Chinese balloon. I'm like, that's a perfect Babylon Bee headline.
That's just hilarious. That's just hilarious. This guy. He just gets humor. Look at that. He's delighted. He's delighted. I recommend all patriots go outside to stare intently at all white orbs in the sky to guess if they're Chinese. It's just, sometimes like in your peripheral vision, when you see those little like gray kind of floating dots, you know what I'm talking about? Does anyone get that? We don't know that those aren't being controlled by the CCP. You should keep trying to look at one. They should all the patriots should keep trying to look at the little gray floating misshapen orbs. You give this man $50 million. Seriously, this is how conservative media works. Montanans go outside and try and shoot the balloon. Some fracking billionaire is just like, pay this man $50 million. This is, I can't believe at the level of genius. We have tactically ascertained an unidentified retinal object. Dangerous stuff.
That guy's the Pentagon spokesperson. You got to remember,
The
the
woke
entire
Pentagon.
American ruling elite, they're on the payroll of the CCP.
Oh, yeah.
The hedge fund managers, the finance titans, the National Basketball Association. So for them, this is...
Sorry. All these powerful interests that control American society. Sorry, what was that, Charlie? What were the three things you mentioned?
You got to remember, the entire American ruling elite, they're
The entire American ruling elite is on the payroll of the CCP. Well, ruling elite, who does that mean? Like who?
on the payroll of the CCP. The hedge fund managers, the finance titans, the National Basketball Association.
The NBA is getting orders from the balloon. We don't know how deep this goes. We don't know how. We're through the looking glass here. All of the American ruling elite, the hedge fund managers, the finance titans, the National Basketball Association, they're all in on this. Three buses. The size of 3 buses, this thing.
So for them, this is their employer, right? This is their cash cow. So the cash cow has a balloon as it's spying on all of us. And what is he talking about? It doesn't pose a threat. They're taking in-depth 3D thermal imaging pictures of our own citizens, and that's not a threat to the United States.
And you're laughing.
Why are we putting up with this?
I agree. They shouldn't be putting up with it. I support them shooting down this balloon. The NBA stars, finance guys, hedge fund managers, all notorious communists. That's right. Who else will be able to handle a big sky orb other than the NBA? This is their sphere. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we should just become. It's like if you don't have a soul, you can just become a conservative grifter, and it's like I feel like any of us could do a good job at it. China definitely taking HD pictures, thermal imaging, though. The residents of Billings, Montana, and all those military bases that we keep showing on the news. We got some more coverage of this. I think we should check out here from Twitter account Conservative Mama.
We have identified that the object in the sky is a Chinese spy balloon. We have collectively decided to allow this Chinese spy balloon to just fly across the United States and collect data and information on our country and simultaneously feed it back to the Chinese Communist Party. And many are asking why? Why have you not shot down this Chinese
She's
spy
calling.
balloon?
She's telling it like
and
it
the answer to
is.
that is debris. If we were to shoot it down, there could be enormous ramifications.
It's called
for
speaking
people
truth to
on the
power.
Earth's surface, and we don't want people to get injured if this balloon, was to explode and all sorts of debris. It could be really, really catastrophic.
Who was? I already forgot the. Was it Sarah Cooper? I already forgot her name. It's good to know. That was a funny pause face. It's good to know that conservatives have their own Sarah Cooper, though. That's good.
Oh, and also another reason for not shooting down this Chinese spy balloon is we would like to be able to obtain any information that is on board the balloon. Shooting it down would destroy any information on board. And with that, I'll take questions.
What does President Xi have on Biden?
Couldn't you just pull the balloon down, find various weighted objects, lasso the balloon, and pull it to the Earth's surface?
Pay this woman $50 million,
That way
please.
no data is destroyed and no one gets injured. Just pull it down.
That's just, it's not a possibility. So,
I mean, if we're able to, re-land rockets and blow up asteroids in space, I thought we would be able to just pull a balloon down to the Earth's surface.
that would be extremely, extremely difficult. Pretty much impossible.
Well, I happened to bring my niece's balloon to this press briefing, and I just want to give you a quick demo, since maybe you guys haven't thought of this. But you would just pull it down like this and bring it.
She's asking the hard-hitting
Pull it
questions.
down.
Brandon does not have an answer to any of these questions.
You could try it. Just pull it down.
Conservative Mama coming to
Just throw it-
Newsmax
just throw it
Saturdays
out there.
11:30. Paid $18 million a year. See, look at this. Brandon's on the take. Brandon's on the take of the CCP. Look at this. Biden completely ignores questions on the Chinese spy balloon floating over the U.S. Look at this sick fuck. He's smiling. He's smiling while President Xi is getting all kinds of thermal readouts of American citizens. And Brandon here is smiling about it.
Are you worried about the balloon? Are you? A little bit?
Are you worried about the balloon? With the helicopter blowing. Fuck. He cannot hear you. He's just thinking about the time he drove his dad's car back in like 1959. Took it out, let him go down, took it out and drive it on the driveway. It's what he's thinking about right now. He's being controlled by the balloon. Dark Brandon has a steel resolve. The balloon just means nothing to him.
From the White House, where moments ago, President Biden left aboard Marine One as he leaves for Philadelphia. Watch as he does not acknowledge the many questions reporters shout, most of them about the Chinese spy balloon.
I just keep repeating the phrase, enslaved by the CCP balloon. Now there's coverage of this.
Are you worried about the balloon? Are you? A little bit?
Well, if the president was concerned about the balloon or potential for a recession, he didn't seem to show it. That, as we continue to get these pictures, that's no moon. That's a space station. News alert from the White House where moments ago.
Look, we got this too. Look at this. Just refuses to answer. Brandon refuses to answer.
Mr. President, when and how will you remove the balloon?
Oh. Oh my goodness. We've got a couple of big news hits here now. Everyone has a chance to make a name for themselves. And frankly, I agree. I agree with this man.
The Pentagon has admitted that the U.S. military is monitoring this Chinese surveillance balloon hovering over Montana. The government has detected
He's talking. This woman talks like Dennis Reynolds when in that situation when he says 2 wars. Like that's exactly how she talks. It's the exact same voice. Right? Hold on. This is the exact cadence.
That there is a war going on right now. Am I right in this?
Well, actually, there are 2 wars right
Two
now.
wars. That there is a war.
I need the full clip though. I need the full clip. I need the full clip.
Ben the soldier. Ben the soldier is here with us, folks, and I want to talk to him because Ben, it's my understanding that there is a war going on right now. Am I right in this?
Well, actually, there are 2 wars
Two
right now.
war. We're in the midst of 2 wars all at once. Now, the United States of America is engaged in both of these wars?
Yes, they are.
And are either of these wars happening on U.S. Soil?
Excuse me.
What is your job in the war?
Let me
Are
just-
you a carrier of large weaponry?
Let me just interrupt. How about if we talk about how
Sorry. That's her exact cadence.
Pentagon has admitted that the U.S. military is monitoring this Chinese surveillance balloon
Spy balloon.
hovering over Montana. The government has detected and is tracking a high-altitude surveillance balloon that is over the continental United States right now. What is going on?
And the Biden administration won't shoot it down. That's what I don't understand. What is their sensitivity about this Chinese spy balloon?
Shoot this balloon out of the sky, Brandon.
Montana? They need to go ahead and shoot it down and
Yes.
protect our national
I'm
security.
fully in this camp.
Chinese interests are major threat to our national security, and whether it's the information that were in the documents in Joe Biden's garage, the information that's on Hunter Biden's
On the laptop? Yeah,
that
thank
may
you.
deal with Ukraine, that may deal with China. These are issues that need to be answered. That's why the Judiciary Committee established this special select subcommittee. That's why I'm the chairman of the subcommittee to enforce this. You know, they are taking
You
this
can count
seriously
on
on the
me. You're
Democrat
going to have
side
good
because
old
they made
Rob
Eric
to talk you through all this.
Robbie Boy.
Lily, thank you very much for the 12 months of Prime. Thank you, Lily. I really appreciate that. I hope you're sufficiently freaked out about this balloon situation. My heart goes out to everyone right now that's dealing with this really terrifying situation of the balloon. And Lily, I know you agree with me. I'm in the camp that Brandon needs to just shoot down this balloon immediately. I think they should be launching cruise missiles at this thing yesterday. And every moment that they refuse to act on this is more time that the CCP is going to gather thermal imaging data on all different kinds of Americans. And the longer Brandon delays on this, the more President Xi gets the information that he came after. Iron Dome that bitch. That's what I'm saying. Need to take this down with the Patriot missile. This unchecked aggression will not stand, dude. If there was ever a time for a tactical nuclear weapon, it's this balloon. Like, I don't see what they're fucking waiting for. They just look weak. They look weak on a global stage right now. Their integrity and their sovereignty they're basically being cucked on a global level right now. The whole world is watching, and Brandon's just letting it happen. Their sovereignty is being violated, and Brandon's just letting it happen. This is a defeated country. It's a defeated country. Very sad. This weapon is a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. That's how serious this is. They're showing their weak muscle right now. The Saudis saying that the U.S. doesn't have that kind of muscle anymore, and they're right. They're right.
Well, the ranking member on the new subcommittee that I'm chairing, they're going to send in their heavy hitters.
Just need to set up a giant net. Thank you.
And we're going to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I mean,
Well, 2 wars. Oh, good. Is this Gordon Chang? We need to get him on this. He's one of our top China watchers. I'm glad he's weighing in on this.
How do we know for a fact that this balloon that's been spotted over Montana is in fact a Chinese spy balloon?
We know the track of the balloon. We know where it started. And so it started in China. It is a Chinese spy balloon. And Sid, this is apparently not the first time this has happened. So I'm sure that NORAD has many tracks of Chinese spy balloons.
Interesting. Marco Rubio said yesterday down in the state of Florida that Beijing really started this about 5 years ago, and that this happens, like you just said, all the time. I wonder why Montana? Just curious.
Well, that balloon is over an Air Force base which has Minuteman missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles. So
the
they
plot
obviously
thickens.
want to find out signals intelligence, and who knows what else they're preparing for. Because, possibly that balloon does have the ability to drop something.
How do we know this is a Chinese spy balloon? Well, it's a balloon. It came from China. It is a Chinese spy balloon. That's right.
Maybe not this balloon, but balloons like it. So drop something. Maybe possibly that balloon does have the ability to drop something. Maybe not this balloon, but balloons like it. So
Oh my God. Oh, I'm so happy to have spent the last 3 hours covering this story. This is wonderful. And thank you, Husker, for this intel. This mysterious Chinese balloon has been floating outside my house for several hours, and the White House refuses to respond to my emails demanding we deploy F-35s to destroy it. It could be doing anything. Let's check this. Let's check out this intel from our friend Husker. Oh, goodness. Oh, my. We really are through the looking glass on this one. Brandon, when are you going to shoot down the balloon, though? That's the question. When is Brandon going to shoot down this balloon? Look what this balloon has already done to us. It's turned us against ourselves, right? It's turned us against each other. The guy knowing that balloon got it on. Woo-wee. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Okay, I think this is a good place to leave this story. I got something really special for you next, folks. This is a good place to leave this. You can imagine what it'd be like if they did, right? Here's For America when the Chinese spy balloon enters Mar-a-Lago airspace. This is real footage, by the way.
Man, it's in. Oh! They do it. Good night.